I'd like to call the meeting to our order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell,
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hanson,
Here.
Councilor Grasso,
Here.
Councilor Farini,
Here.
Councilor Marchand,
Here.
Councilor Panalakis,
Here.
Councilor Hines,
Here.
Councilor Reynolds,
Here.
Councilor Whitehouse.
Here.
Please rise for a moment of silent prayer, and then Councilor Hines will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by God Bless America.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America. We're down to the proclamation, and this is in regards to Community Development Block Grant Week, and the Assistant Mayor is going to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Hall, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, proclamation, whereas the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, program has operated since 1975 to provide local governments with the resources required to meet the infrastructure, economic, and human service needs of our low and moderate income citizens, and whereas the Community Development Block Grant program has had a significant impact on our local economy through physical redevelopment of our neighborhoods, job creation and retention, and improved local tax base. And whereas Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and other local governments have clearly demonstrated the capacity to administer and customize the CDBG program to identify, prioritize, and resolve pressing local problems such as affordable housing, human service needs, neighborhood improvements, and job creation and retention. Now, I, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, do proclaim the week of April 12th to April 16th shall be Community Development Week in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and urge all citizens to join us in recognizing the Community Development Block Grant Program and the important role it plays in our community. Given my hand and seal, City of Portsmouth, on the 12th day of April 2004, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor.
Thank you, Assistant Mayor. I'm going to ask Bob Layton to step forward and receive his proclamation, and then I'd like him to say a few words at the podium.
Just a few ago.
Okay, Bob. You do a great job. That's what counts, right?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before I get into the prepared statement, which is, Your Honor, very brief, I'd like to suggest that those who have not seen the display out here in the hallway, that they should go see it. I think the staff did an excellent job in displaying some of the works that we've done in CDBG. Your Honor, members of the council, as chairman of the city's CDBG Citizens Advisory Committee, I'm very much pleased to here tonight, and on behalf of the committee, to be part of the recognition of Community Development Week. For over 20 years, in fact, after I heard the date expressed tonight, it's getting mighty close to 30 years, Portsmouth's federal CDBG dollars have funded a wide range of local housing, economic development, neighborhood, and handicapped accessibility projects. Noteworthy projects where CDBG played a key role included the Market Square improvements in the 1970s and the redevelopment of Osprey Landing later on. Today, we are very much focused on improvements in the Atlantic Heights neighborhood as well as affordable housing. Our committee actively seeks input from residents on what projects they would like to see funded with CDBG dollars. We listen carefully to this input, take some field trips to project sites, and meet frequently to determine how best to prioritize local CDBG spending. In closing, I would want to underscore how proud the Citizens Advisory Committee is a Portsmouth CDBG program. We are very fortunate to have citizens who have, over the years, provided thoughtful input. We also feel that we have an excellent relationship with the City Council and the City Manager. And the support, of course, I can never say enough about our capable staff. So on behalf of the Citizens Advisory Committee, I would like to thank all of you and the residents of Portsmouth for your ongoing support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bob. Now we're down to the presentation, a proposed continuation of the Chamber of Commerce's partnership. John Tabor is chair of the Chamber Board of Directors, and Peter Hamlin, president of the Chamber of Commerce.
Your Honor, while Peter is coming up to the microphone, just want to mention that this is a program that has been endorsed by the Economic Development Commission. Edward Eaton from the EDC is here tonight to speak on behalf of the EDC. If there are questions directed regarding the EDC support of this program, the city staff has worked with the EDC and the Chamber relative to this program. This year, I think you'll see that there have been some changes as requested by the City Council from last year. There is some new focus that's being directed at this program, along with the continuation of more of the successful parts of the program. So I'll ask Peter to go through that, and Your Honor, it would be probably appropriate to have the council ask questions of Peter once he's finished.
Very good. Are you ready for that, Peter?
I think so, Miss.
Go right ahead, Peter.
Well, again, my name is Peter Hamlin, and I have the honor of representing the Chamber of Commerce and our 1,000 members. And we're here tonight to thank you first for your continued support of our work and our economic development initiatives on behalf of the Portsmouth business community and the community at large. As we look at this coming year, we are facing some new challenges, and I think the city manager talked a little bit about that to you as we prepare to work and save the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard and the 5,000 jobs they have there right now. As we ramp up to deal with some of the critical issues in the region as workforce housing and transportation issues, we see this partnership as a partnership of prosperity. I'm just going to walk you through this packet really briefly, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to hear from Ginny Griffith and Marge Hubbard, and then our chair, John Tabor.
The packets on the inside cover.
Yeah, the packets on the inside cover.
Agenda.
Nicely bound. Right now, we are engaged in a process of saving the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, working with Bill McDonough and his group, and both the state of Maine and the state of New Hampshire, as well as the city of Portsmouth. And also, over the past year, the Chamber has been seeing a steady increase in the number of businesses, startup and relocation inquiries, a sure sign that our economy is picking up. With that increase in activity comes a responsibility to answer those inquiries and address those issues with a potential to limit our growth. We've taken a leadership role in such issues as the Workforce Housing Coalition, working with the New Hampshire DRED, working with Senator Judd Gregg to receive funding from the federal government to speed up the Little Bay Bridge expansion to get our employees into the city. We worked with the school board and the schools to help secure the $4.5 million grant for the Portsmouth High School Vocational Education Center. Our government affairs continues to go to Concord and advocates on health care insurance and business taxes and tax structure and quality of life issues. We continue with a full schedule of economic development activities, including monthly business seminars, resource fairs, tourism summits, networking sessions, and programs designed to connect big businesses with little businesses in the region to help shelter ourselves from the national economy that's up and down right now. We also have a partnership, as you know, with Pro Portsmouth. We help to bring that organization back to life and underneath our umbrella to refocus Market Square Day and continue popular events as Children's Day and Snowflake Festival and New Year's Portsmouth that brings residents and tourists into our downtown. All these activities and initiatives will help Portsmouth to succeed in the future and continue our strong economic growth. Just some facts about the Chamber, some of the things that we do on a daily basis. Right now we're answering more than 450 phone calls a day. We have nearly 20,000 walk-ins per month, both at the Chamber office and at the kiosk downtown. We've been able to go out and secure $18,000 from the state of New Hampshire and then go to our members and receive another $18,000, which equals $36,000 to help market Portsmouth outside of the state of New Hampshire in markets as Boston, New York City, and Philadelphia. We have Marge will talk a little bit more, but we have a value of media coverage that we facilitated over $625,000 worth of media coverage. As you'll see, moving through the packet, just a small idea of when the original partnership and the agreement was to do the activities on the left-hand side, and you'll see both in the business development area and the tourism area, we've been able to grow both those jobs into full-time jobs and supporting much more than the original partnership. So we feel good about that, and some of the goals for the upcoming year. Save the Shipyard campaign is a major role right now for us. We've been called into action, and it's the Chamber's job and our responsibility. Arts and culture, we know the city's been a major player in arts and culture, and we continue to support that. Our central business district, which is more important than ever, trying to keep those local independent businesses alive and prospering. Our technology roundtable, continuing the e-coast and the strong development of that, and also the business development goals and tourism goals. And right now, I'd like to call up one of the best things that this partnership offers. It offers us to hire 2 professional staff members. We have Marge Hubbard, who is our tourism manager, who's not only a leader on the local level, has taken a lead on the state level, and is on many statewide committees and well respected throughout the state in tourism. And after Marge will be Ginny Griffith, who's a new employee at the Chamber and has already jumped in full force and has many years of experience both in Chamber work and in the technology area, and came from the E-Coast Board of Directors onto the Chamber staff. So I'm going to invite Marge and Ginny up for their piece of this.
Thank you, Peter. Mayor Sorrell and councilors, thank you for having us here this evening. We've had a very busy year. In 2003, we stepped up our promotion of Portsmouth and the Seacoast thanks to the contributions of the city and the joint promotional grant that we received from the state. The program was so successful that we almost exhausted our supply of the guides to the Seacoast by the December holidays. And since this year we ramped up our advertising and promotions even more, we added to the print run. So this year, these guides to the Seacoast, which I believe are a part of your packet, just come out in March. And so this year we increased the print run by 10% to 110,000. We hope that will be sufficient for the demand. The increased awareness of Portsmouth, as Peter mentioned, has also resulted in drawing more travel writers to the area, publishing articles in nationwide magazines and in newspapers from Canada to Florida. We researched what the value of all of that news was, and it actually came out in terms of ad space equal at 150,000. But actually PR is worth a lot more than advertising. There are places where these articles appeared, such as on the front page of a travel section in a major newspaper, and other situations such as that, covers of magazines, which you cannot buy in advertising, and that's why we can say that it is worth so much more. And as Peter said, $625,000 is the rate that it is being estimated by the Institute of Public Relations. Our tourism summit, which was held in March at Wentworth by the Sea, was very successful. It was a day packed with inspirational speakers and educational seminars. Almost 200 tourism businesses were represented at this from across the Seacoast. Currently, the Tourism Committee is planning our marketing strategy for fiscal year 2005, focusing on how we can grow our shoulder seasons. We hope to encourage both residents and visitors to come into the city to enjoy the foliage, to do their holiday shopping, and to celebrate the holidays. We're also improving our website to make it more friendly to both visitors and members. Soon, members will be able to have their own web page on the Chamber site. They'll be able to display special events, pictures of their business or products, menus, room rates, plus have a 50-word description of their business. This new capability will make a web presence affordable for even the smallest businesses. So you can see we are taking the money that you're giving it to us and trying to multiply it in many ways to increase the visibility and attraction of our destination. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you much.
Hello, Mayor Sorrell and councilors. The ECOS Technology Roundtable will support SaveOurShipyard.org. We have secured the domain, and we have put up a holding page that gives contact information to the Shipyard Association. We've met with the Shipyard Association, and we've mapped out how this website will look, and we will do a phased approach and build out. We will build out content as it becomes available and keep it up to date throughout the process. Save Our Shipyard will also be an initiative of the Chamber's Business Development Committee as well. And on April 20th, Captain McDonough and myself will speak to the Peace Tenants Association. The first strategic planning meeting with the Shipyard Association will take place on April 30th. Another program of the Chamber's Business Development Committee is the Big Fish, Little Fish program that Peter spoke to earlier, which allows smaller businesses the opportunity to meet with large businesses in the Seacoast area. Our most recent Big Fish was Timberland, where over 45 businesses had the opportunity to speak with decision makers within Timberland. Future Forward, a New England Technology Summit that was held in Portsmouth last year, will be returning this year, bringing over 300 attendees to the area. And due to the success of last year's event, they have now chosen Portsmouth as its permanent location for its annual event. This brings together some of the top caliber people in the technology field that will present a first-hand look on what's happening in technology in the New England area. The ECOS Wi-Fi project, for those of you maybe remember it from last year in Market Square, which gave free wireless internet connectivity to visitors to the downtown area, will now be expanded into Prescott Park and will allow people that are visiting both by land and sea to have access to the internet. We will once again put a survey on the connection so that they will have to fill out some brief questions that will collect data that will be given back to the city of Portsmouth and to businesses and tourism businesses that belong to the Chamber. Some of the most recent trends indicating that business in the Seacoast area is beginning to move in a positive direction. There's beginning to be hiring in the sales, technology, and support of engineering in businesses. According to reports in the tech sector, we will see a resurgence in startups based on those that were impacted by the fallout of the dot-com era that have now started their own businesses. And this is facilitated by a report by the Ecoast Angels that invested $1.6 million in 2003, which in turn attracted another $9.3 million in professional venture capital funding. They project that in 2004 they will invest a lot more, and these dollars will stay in our region. We've had an increased request from businesses that are looking to relocate to the Portsmouth area or start up here in this area. And Nancy Carmer and myself have been working with these companies, and we're providing them with the information they need both on a local and state level. Now I'd like to introduce John Tabor, Chair of the Chamber of Business.
Thank you.
Excuse me, the Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome, John.
Nice to see you again, Mayor. Excuse my froggy throat.
I got one too.
Yeah. As you prepare to vote on this, I think it's important to keep in mind, as for any of our citizens watching at home, that these are not general fund monies. These are monies out of the Economic Development Fund, which is interest from the revolving loan program. So this is not money that could be used, for example, for firefighter salaries or police or city needs. It's a separate and not commingled set of funds for economic development. Briefly, to recap what's been said tonight, where's the value for your $40,000? First, in the tourism area, Marge has shown, I think, pretty clearly how the $15,000 has been leveraged into an enormous amount of publicity for the Seacoast, and the 400 regular calls a day to the Chamber that are serviced. Ross Cattell, our local economist, has pointed out that during the recession, tourist jobs grew 5% in the Seacoast area. And I think when you look at the value of the promotion and servicing of inquiries and outreach the Chamber does, that $15,000 is well spent when you think of that economic success record for Portsmouth and surrounding communities. Second, Ginny points out the value of the E-Coast. The $1.6 million from the E-Coast Angels has been leveraged into $6 million of venture capital. This has been a slower period for technology, but our entrepreneurs have stayed here. They haven't left. And that venture capital and networking infrastructure is something that's going to prove itself very valuable. I think we'll find a lot of successful businesses were birthed in the last 2 years here. And finally, the shipyard. The shipyard is a major challenge that we all face. It's a huge payroll, and it's going to be a tough fight. And some entity has to take the lead in not only raising funds, but developing the information and the appeal to Washington. And Peter, along with Ginny and his staff, will be working with the York Chamber in partnership to take the lead on that. And we'd ask for your support for those 3 things.
Thank you, John. Everett, did you want to come forward before we open this up by the councilors for question and answer? Did you have anything you wanted to say? Okay, very good. Do I have any questions? Harold?
Well, 2 years ago, I thought we could redirect this $40,000 from EDC in a different fashion. But at that time, last year, I changed my mind because of the economy, and I supported the $40,000. This year, I see that the Naval Shipyard is talked about in every phase of your report, and of course, we all realize how important that is. Even in your cover letter here, Mr. Tabor and Mr. Hamlet, you mentioned as we prepare to defend the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, this probably be the most important thing going for you for this year. And then you talked about the strategy that will be needed, and funding by this partnership is currently the city's lead person for the Save the Shipyard effort. And all the way through your report, you emphasize, even in the current partnership activities, the Save the Shipyard campaign business development manager will serve as the city's lead task force representative. And all through your report, it's emphasizing the shipyard. And I certainly hope as the year goes on, and especially into the year 2005, that we do not lose this interest. We do not lose the concept how important to pursue saving the shipyard is. And I hope the local chamber will be working with Dover, Rochester, and Somersworth. There are more employees now coming from Rochester and Dover than there are in Portsmouth. I know our mayor has sent out communication to the heads of each city's department requesting funds for the SSA, but I think it's very important that this local chamber work with the local chambers in other cities and towns.
Councilor Pandalakis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to ask a question. I think I asked this question last year. What other cities and towns contribute to this Seacoast Guide that's advertised in it?
We have a partnership with the Hampton Chamber of Commerce, who advertises in the Guide to the Seacoast. What we've done is with the other area towns, we have collaborated together, and we've created a Seacoast war piece, and we print 100,000 of these copies together with the other Seacoast towns, and all those copies go outside of the state of New Hampshire. So does that answer your question, Councilor?
But they don't contribute any money to it?
Not to the Guide to the Seacoast. They all have their own guides that they put out. But what we do, again, is we collaborate on one piece that all the 7 chambers join in on.
Second question. I hear you, each one of you in your report say region. What is a region that we're talking about?
We talk about York County, and we talk about from Hampton to Rochester and out to Exeter. So it's some of Rockingham County, southern York County, and some of Stratford County.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Tom?
If I may, Madam Mayor, is this going to be taken for a vote out of order, or is this merely for purposes of discussion at this time?
I think we should take a vote on it, don't you, John?
Your Honor, it is under Councilor Hines' name, and if he wants
That's
to
right.
move to suspend the rules, that's your prerogative.
Why don't you, John?
Thank you, Your
I'd
Honor.
just like to say before we vote on this, the mayor's office sent out 43 letters to the different towns throughout New Hampshire, and with the proclamation that we read here, 6 to the Maine side, 43 to the New Hampshire side, plus each one of our congressmen and our senators. I have got numerous responses back and proclamations from different towns. But most of your towns, their budgets, they don't have the money. So I'm hoping that they will come across with a little bit. But I wanted to let you know, and I will work with you on that, Peter, because that would be helpful to me.
I think maybe a good way to go is maybe to work with the other chambers to help them lobby their city,
Okay.
to talk about the jobs and the economic impact.
Right,
So I think a
right.
joint effort would be very positive.
I spoke with the Dover city manager and also Rochester. And Rochester employs more of the Navy Yard workers than any of the surrounding towns, which I was surprised about. But it's looking good. We have started, but it's not coming as fast as I was hoping. I'm sorry, John, you all ready?
Your Honor, I believe there is another question on the floor, and then if you close the public hearing, I would like to address the issue.
Okay. Ned, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make a short statement and ask a question, or make a request, I guess, of our representatives from the chamber. First of all, I want to say that I think this $40,000 is money that's extremely well spent. Obviously, portrayed by the numbers in terms of what it leverages, but also just having observed the wide array of activities and functions that the chamber fulfills. It's apparent that they do a huge amount to advance the interests of the whole region. So, but secondly, the request I have, obviously it's great and very appropriate that you're going to be focusing on the importance of the shipyard and the saving the shipyard effort. I've had this thought, and it occurs to me that you folks might be the ones in the best position to do looking into the numbers. It strikes me that in terms of the significance of the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, the size of its workforce, the payroll that it has, and the money that it spends in the local economy here in Portsmouth or in the seacoast, that the significance of that relative to the other shipyards in the country, that it could be said that Portsmouth Naval Shipyard is sort of competing against in the base closure, Norfolk, San Diego, that the significance, the size of Portsmouth's shipyard relative, to the size of our population, I think it's much greater than, say, the importance of the shipyard in Norfolk to the Hampton Roads area, or the significance of the Navy base in San Diego to Southern California. So I was just wondering if it would be possible, I'm not asking for a 6-month research project, but if it might be possible for you to put some numbers together so that could be made a part of our case, the fact that the Naval Shipyard is so vital and so significant in comparison to these other places.
Thank you, Ned. Does that take care of all the questions? John, did you want to say something else? No. What we're going to do, John, is we'll close the presentation, then somebody has to suspend the rules before we can go into yours.
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Do I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I would like to speak to that issue. We have suspended the rules to take up D1 under my name, which is the Chamber of Commerce partnership with the city. And if we do suspend the rules, I would like to discuss that.
I just did.
We just did, John.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Fine.
You're all set.
Thank you. I would now move to accept the recommendation of the Economic Development Commission for the continuation of the partnership between the city and the Chamber of Commerce and the use of $40,000 in Urban Development Action Grant funds, and to approve this matter as presented.
Second. Thank you. Discussion? Councilor Grasso.
Yes, I would just like to reiterate what Mr. Tabor said, that there is no way this money can be used to lower the tax rate or to do anything of that nature, that it has to be used in the context that it's being used today is to further economic development. So just so that everyone understands that.
Any other questions? Councilor Farini?
Briefly, I'm pleased to see it come before us now as a city councilor. I've had long experience with the Chamber as part of the Economic Development Commission, and I think this is a worthy program, and I would add that for the folks out there watching on TV and for those present in the gallery, the Chamber has been exceedingly responsive in reporting to the Economic Development Commission on a very regular basis to ensure that the program is an alive and breathing program, and I think they're to be commended for that, and I certainly intend to support the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Any other questions before the vote? We all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to the acceptance of the minutes for March 29th, 2004. Thank you, gentlemen.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to the public comment session. We have 9 speakers, so each one will have 3 minutes apiece. And as you know, once the sign goes up, please sit down. The first one is Harold Eckert, City Business.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ecker, 422 Banfield Road. I kind of am ashamed for myself and ashamed for all of you. I want to make a comparison. I'm an old person, just like some of you up there. Before long, we're going to be gone, myself and all of you. The Armory is an old building, and it's a stately building, and that could live forever. It was well built by the feds, not like the city's buildings, for the parking garage, the cone incinerator, the refuse-to-energy plant, all pieces of junk built. Marana Road, built, rebuilt, junk. Coakley Landfill, junk. No, I don't think anyone on the council knows too much about construction except one person up there. There's only one person, and that person has to bail all of you people out, time after time after time after time. That person's Mr. Sullivan. And then we have Mr. Bohinko, who I thought was a very good city manager. I still think he is a good city manager. However, I think he's kind of become a little bit of a yes man to Mrs. Sorrell.
Mr. Eckert, we're
What?
not talking
Can't say that?
personalities. Stay away from it.
How is it that a manager does not have all of his private funding, money, in the bank before one brick is moved off the Armory? I have to do so after, and so do other people have to. We have to get all of our financing in place before we build or buy. I would guess we have a sacred cow in the JFK financing. It should all be in the bank someplace. Also, how come every time things go out to bid, the price becomes higher after the work starts? That's happened time and time again. It happened at Osprey Landing. I'm just curious if it's going to happen over on the hill next to us now. I would suppose that because Mr. Sullivan had done all the work, all the research on the Pierce property, he has all the pieces to the puzzle, all the pieces. Only he. However, I would suppose that maybe, just maybe, he has found some things out that would hinder the tearing down of that old building. I don't know, and I don't think anybody else knows. But I think the mayor would you tell him not to bring it out in public if there were things that would hinder the tearing down of that old building? It must be awful for the mayor that many people not in the backyard of the JFK, such as myself and other people, who are not in the backyard, are against that project. Also, it seems that the mayor used to use the JFK, but maybe now it's not good enough for you. Also, on the Taxpayers Association, now that's not good enough. It seems as though she's like dear Governor, Mr. Benson. If you agree,
3 minutes, Ms.
you don't
Decker,
agree.
your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next speaker is Nate Holloway, MLK report. Hi, Nate.
Good evening, Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen of the council. I come as chairman of the Seacoast Martin Luther King Coalition and a member of the Blue Ribbon Committee. And I would just like to say I thank you for appointing the committee. I thank you and Mr. Hines for the leadership ability that was given to us and the guidance. We compromised. We got away from the street. It first started out as the street. And I'm pretty sure you read the recommendation so far. And I ask you as leaders of this community to support the report. Give us this change to the street. It doesn't hurt anyone, I don't think. I think the location of the park be a tremendous asset to the city. And plus, remembrance of Dr. King, who once spoke here. So I ask you to approve this, and let's get on with the work at hand. I won't be here when you vote, but I have a previous commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. No, we don't do questions on public comment. Now we're down to Rich DiPatino, and he's going to speak regarding the Schiller Station.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is Rich DiPatino, and I'm a resident of 16 Dunland Way in Portsmouth. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I come before you to ask your assistance and help in resolving an ongoing serious public health situation in my neighborhood. Our neighborhood is subjected to the continuous deposition of coal dust from PSNH Schiller Station. This dust is a result of the unloading of coal from ships, as well as from the transfer of the coal into the furnace. The exterior and interior of our homes, as well as the grounds, reflect the deposits of this dust. Our neighborhood, with approximately 17 children, aged 2 months to 15 years, is constantly subjected to breathing this dust. We have attempted over the past 3 years to get the situation resolved. Unfortunately, the problem continues. I wrote to the Schiller Station plant manager on January 6, 2004. To date, no reply has been received. Public Service of New Hampshire has made a business decision to burn coal at Schiller Station solely based on economic considerations. This is their right. However, with this right comes the responsibility to ensure that their coal and its residual dust does not leave their property and create a public health problem for their neighbors. As a public health professional for 30 years, I am well aware of the health concerns caused by chronically inhaling coal dust, especially for the immature lungs of our children. As a municipal public health official in another community, I am also aware of the responsibility of our government to protect the health and welfare of its citizens. We are not asking that Schiller Station be closed. We are only asking that PSNH do whatever is necessary to keep their coal on their property, regardless of the cost. Certainly, we would not allow them to have oil or gas leave their property and place their neighbors at risk if these were the fuels being used at Schiller Station. If PSNH cannot or will not accept their responsibility, it is the duty of the City of Portsmouth and the State of New Hampshire to take action under law to protect, to protect the residents. Thank you for your assistance. We look forward to your reply.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like my statement?
If you'd like to pass it right here to the city clerk. Thank you very much. Peter Braziano, and Peter's going to speak on tolls. No, yes, you are, Hampton tolls.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council members and staff. Just a few words on the Hampton tolls. As you know, they're planning on instituting the one-way tolls again this year. Southbound free, northbound pay double. And there are a number of city officials that are speaking out against this because of the traffic that it puts on Route 1. And I'm urging the city to take a look at Route 1 through Portsmouth. We have a transportation engineer. Take a look at accidents that occur on our Route 1 through Portsmouth, whether the accidents are becoming more numerous, whether the traffic is becoming more numerous, and to act accordingly. I don't think we want any more traffic coming through Portsmouth than need be. That's why we built the turnpike out there. Also, I want to make one comment, seeing that you are our representatives and you deal with the state as well as anyone else does in official capacity. Easy Pass, once again, the residents of New Hampshire are going to have to bite the bullet. For who? I don't know. Easy Pass, when it goes into effect, and it hasn't been approved yet, tokens will be reduced to 20%. Easy Pass will be 40%. What happened to the other 10%? Right now, we get a 50% reduction in the tolls and the tokens. Somebody is getting ripped off again, and it's the residents of New Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Jim Spillane, and Jim is going to speak Martin Luther King possibilities. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Jim Spillane at 201 Oriental Gardens. On a rather chilly Monday evening, January 26th, in these chambers, you had about a 1-hour public hearing on the issue of how to best commemorate Dr. Martin Luther King in the city of Portsmouth. There was some contentious discussion, perhaps, during the public hearing. We left that meeting, I think all of us left that meeting, you and members of the public, with the feeling that a challenge had to be met on finding a great way, not just a way, but a great way to commemorate a great American. You appointed a committee, which I and several others that evening had suggested, and you appointed John Hines as, I think he called himself, liaison instead of chair. I'm suggesting and urging you to support the recommendation of that committee, which John Hines will detail tonight, because I think it is not just a compromise, it's the best way, I think, here in Portsmouth that we can commemorate Dr. King. I think you have to look at this idea that's going to be presented to you not on its face value, but instead on what it can become. I think it can become something excellent with a little bit of vision, some additional contributions by members of the community. I think it could be literally done for nothing, and it could be a tremendous tribute. I do have to close by getting slightly in a personality, Madam Mayor, in saying that it was my privilege again in the 30 years that I've spent knowing him to again work with John Hines on an issue. And maybe he recently had a birthday, but he still seems to me like the 40-ish-year-old man that he was when I first met him. You ended up having a lot of diversity of judgment and opinion and personality in the 6 members who you put on this committee. It took somebody with talent and skill and the desire to find consensus to bring us all together. And I think you found an excellent person in choosing John Hines, and John Hines, again, did the job. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim, and you're certainly right. John did an excellent job. Now we're down to Tom Carroll, the Port Authority Business Option.
Thank you, Council. My name's Tom Carroll. I'm from Protective Systems, 500 Market Street in Portsmouth. I first want to start by publicly thanking City Manager John Bohenko. There was a PDA meeting held on April 8th where he not only represented the best interest of the city, but the honor and integrity of this council. And I want to applaud his efforts. Thank you, John. I heard a lot about the money end of losing the scrap metal business that brings in $374,000 to the state and $30,000 to the city. I don't believe that's a lot of money for either party. I thought of an idea that would bring in at least $374,000 to the state and even more money to the city, a ferry system. New Hampshire is the only state on the East Coast that does not have a ferry system. Why? We could transport not only people, but vehicles to Nova Scotia, to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and to Portland, Maine. We could have an oversized parking area with a shuttle service through downtown Portsmouth to bring in new outside business prospects to all our local businesses while employing shuttle bus drivers and parking lot attendants. We could have a restaurant for visitors waiting for the ferry to enjoy a good meal, which would also create more employment opportunities for local people. I believe it would also help our slowing taxi service activity. I don't think that we should worry about losing a business that adds no enjoyment to the city and that does not reach the income potential of such a prime piece of property. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Tom. Next speaker is John Grossman, City Infill. I think that's what you have down there. And the Portsmouth Advocates Forum.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councilors. Good evening. John Grossman, President of the Portsmouth Advocates. I'm here to invite you and the public to attend a very timely forum. As we all know, the face of downtown Portsmouth is rapidly changing, whether it be 100 Market Street, the Porter Street houses, townhouses, or on Haymarket Square, the condos. And now for the last 5 or 6 months, I've been going to the HDC meetings, and we've seen proposal after proposal for the new Hilton Hotel at High in Hanover. And this Wednesday, we're going to hear about Pier 2, in case you don't know that, and the Eagle Photo property. So things are changing rapidly. So we're, I think, right on the target by giving a forum that says Challenges of Urban Infill in Historic Areas. And I'd like to invite you and the public. It's going to be on May 8th. It's going to be held at the Masonic Temple. And it's going to be a controversial forum. We have a speaker I have not heard, but I've talked to several people who've heard him, Max Farrow. They say you will not come away sleeping, that he will keep you awake, and he's very controversial, and he loves being controversial. And the forum's going to be controversial. We're bringing people in from Portland. We're bringing in people from Spinea. We're bringing in contractors. We're bringing in developers who will be discussing these topics in panels, and we'll leave time for public discussion. I think an interesting comment was made by a gentleman in England. He says, infill is not a mere gap-filling exercise. It's an opportunity to make a positive and creative contribution to the existing built environment. Successful infill within a historic district creates a pleasurable experience through visual stimuli, promoting a sense of local identity, and encouraging tourism. But if everything is the same, are you going to create boredom? And the HDC has been promoting over the last, with the new hotel, Hilton Hotel, we want to see some creativity. We want to see something different. We want to look at different materials. And that's easier said than done. and they quoted a building that received very high praise, the Hilton Hotel up in Portland, which I happened to go up and see since they talked about it so much. It's a building that has no place in Portsmouth, even though it fits there. So where should we go? And these are some of the things we're going to discuss and look at and try to take a theoretical discussion in the morning, and in the afternoon session, we will do some practical work with Portsmouth and other communities. So once again, we invite you to attend on May 8th. Anyone who wants to know information about it can go to our website, which is www.portsmouthadvocates.org, or they can call me, John Grossman, at 436-9485. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Everett Eaton, the Economic Development Commission. I think he's gone, and he's probably all set. Elgene Bailey, Senior, MLK Possibilities.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Mayor, I don't get up this way very often, and I saw a sign-in roster, and I guess I just put my name there to let you know why I was here. But I am on that Blue Ribbon Committee, and I think there's a great possibility of having that park honor Dr. King in a very powerful way. It's sitting in a place where people going and coming can see that and see it, find it to be very relevant, very prominent, and certainly well placed and earned, and should be there for the good of the city of Portsmouth and the state of New Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you, Elgene. That ends the public comment session, and now we are down to, considerations of resolutions and ordinances. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Approval of grants and donations, the acceptance of the City Cultural Commission, DBA Art Speaks grant.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilor.
I move that the council authorize the city manager to accept the $5,000 for the Cultural Commission. That's also known as Art Speaks.
Okay. Do I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? Being no discussion, you ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're back down to considerations of resolutions and ordinances. The first reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7, period 330, no parking, Hancock Street, the northerly side of Hancock Street from Marcy Street, a distance of 115 feet. What is your wish, Councilors? Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you for allowing me to make this motion. Move that the City Council pass first reading of an amendment ordinance as submitted and hold a public hearing and second reading at the May 3rd, 2004 City Council meeting.
Second. Discussion?
Madam Mayor, just for the information of the council, approximately 10 years ago, Chief Bill Burke, using emergency powers, enacted that no parking for that 115 feet, and that's where the buses come around that corner for Strawberry Bank. We put the signs up, and it never got into the ordinances. So when we got checking the ordinances, we went back and looked and found where it had been put up on an emergency basis, but we never changed the ordinances. And to enforce this restriction, we need to have it on the books. So we're not taking away any more spaces that we have today in that end of the neighborhood. I know parking is very precious down there, but we're simply codifying a no parking situation that exists today.
Very good. I got a second, all right? Okay, any other discussion? Being no other discussion, we are ready for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Third and final reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 2, Section 7, period 219, rates for taxi fares. Councilor Whitehouse, I'll call upon you, since you're...
Thank you, Your Honor, for allowing me to make this motion. I move that the City Council pass the third and final reading of the amended ordinance as submitted.
Second.
Discussion? Being no discussion, you all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to petitions and considerations of written communications and petitions. Now, I had a few late ones come in, so I'm going to put them at the top. Would, Alec, do you have a copy from Mr. Furling?
I do.
All right, I'm going to ask that you read that.
To Mayor Sorrell and the Portsmouth City Council, my name's John Furling. I'm Junior Vice Commander of the Sons of the American Legion, and came before the City Council about 6 or 7 years ago asking permission to have a POW MIA memorial stone put in Veterans Park on the corner of South Street and Junkins Avenue. At that time, I explained this stone will have all of the names of New Hampshire POW MIAs from all wars on this stone. I also stated we'd be raising the money to do this. Well, the time has come, and I have raised $10,000. The stone is now being built. It is approximately 9 feet long by 6 feet high. It's being built by Union Granite and Marble of Union, New Hampshire. We would like to have it in place by Memorial Day weekend and have our dedication the following weekend. So I'm asking permission to install the memorial stone and to have our dedication the weekend after Memorial Day. Thank you for your time and understanding in this matter.
Thank you, Alec. Do I get a second?
Second.
John, I'm going to ask you
There was no motion.
Oh, there was sorry.
I read the letter. I guess my motion would be to refer to the planning board for a report back. Are we going to have time for that, or just, I think we talked about this when they came in, and we said you raised the money.
Yeah, I think, Your Honor, if I might,
Right.
if the city council refers it to me, I can work with the Public Works Department, and we can find a spot in the Memorial Park. It's on the corner of Junkins and South, the Memorial Park. If the council feels that it's appropriate, then I'll work with Mr. Froling to do that. But I don't think we'll have the time to do that.
Move the city manager with power.
Second. Second. Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The second letter, I'm going to ask Councilor Grasso to read it, from Peter and Lou Allen Beard.
Yes, Your Honor. Dear Mayor Sorrell, this letter is a follow-up to our phone conversation regarding Pierce Island restoration. As I stated, my husband and I frequent Pierce Island all summer long, almost every weekend. We travel in our 30-foot motorhome. We spend a great deal of time fishing from shore for striped bass. We visited the area 2 weeks ago and walked around looking at all the improvements that have been done. What an improvement. We are anxious to know what else is planned for the area. We would like to participate in this improvement. Our thoughts that possibly a picnic table placed in the grassy area by the brickyard, as we called it. This would be placed and used by anyone choosing to enjoy the area. The work so far is great. We would like to know if there's going to be parking in the area and where they now dump winter snow. Is this something the committee is interested in? Please contact us. Sincerely, Peter and Lou Ellen Beard.
Would you make the motion, Councilor?
Well, I'd like to move this to the city manager and to the Pierce Island Committee.
All right.
And with a report back also.
Very good. Do I get a second?
Second.
All right. Any other discussion on this? Being no discussion, we're ready for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Just a reminder that some time ago we went through, where we had a lot of this communication left on our places here before a meeting, and that we have said at that time we wanted all communication before the meeting started, so we've had a chance to look at it.
See, what happened to me was with the Easter, these were late coming in, as you can see by the dates. And Mr. Forling, he really was upset when he came in to me, and he said, I want to see that moved. So that's why I brought it forward. I don't usually do it. And, but...
in the past, we've been...
Yes. I realize that, but this was a case that both of them, because I've talked with Mrs. Baird 3 times, so anyways. So that's why I did it. Very sorry.
No, that's fine. I just didn't want it to continue.
Okay. All right. No, it won't continue, Councilor Grasso. I'll try not to. There might be a case where I'm going to have to do it, but we'll see. We're down to presentations and considerations of written communications and petitions. The renewal request for sidewalk obstruction licenses for the following businesses with no change from last year.
Madam
Who
Mayor-
would like to read that?
Madam Mayor, I move that we basket these and approve the renewal of Cobble Hill, 1 A-frame sign, Stonewall Kitchen, 1 A-frame sign, Dolphin Striker, 1 A-frame sign, and Genip Tree, 1 A-frame sign.
Second.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A request for sidewalk obstruction license from Nat Giovanni, Breaking New Grounds, Inc., to place 15 tables and 42 chairs in front of establishment. And this is the site of the former Cafe Brioche. What you wish, councilors? Somebody want to make a motion?
Move to the city manager with power, please.
Second.
Discussion? Yes, Councilor Pantelakis.
In the picture that you give, there's a red line that says there's not supposed to be any chairs there. Is that on the sidewalk, or is that just for the picture, photo?
If you look at the picture, the red line depicts where the tables and chairs have to be contained.
Okay. But there's no line there that we can be sure that they're in there.
The Jason Page has measurements, so he will go out. If he feels they're encroaching, he'll go and measure.
But numerous times, they're way out on the front of the sidewalk. By the road, people can't get by.
And I agree with you, and numerous times we send Jason down.
Okay, thank you.
All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're down to a letter from Michael and Jackwell Bryan requesting permission to hold the second annual Seacoast Run, Paddle, on Sunday, September 26, 2004.
Move to the city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're down to a letter from John Russo, the Association of Portsmouth Taxpayers, Inc., requesting relative to the building of a new library. Now, whoever makes this motion, I would like them to read the letter. Councilor Grasso?
Your Honor, I'd like to move this letter to the mayor for a reply back to the Association of Portsmouth Taxpayers on behalf of the council. And if I have a second, I'll read the letter.
Second.
To Mayor Evelyn Sorrell, members of the City Council. At a recent meeting of the Association of Portsmouth Taxpayers, March 31st, a motion was made and unanimously approved regarding the proposed site of the Portsmouth Public Library and the consequent demolition of the JFK Armory Building. The APT would like a written response from the council regarding specific questions embodied within that motion. A, the bond for the library project was approved for $7 million. A large portion of that amount was to be collected from private donations. To date, how much of that amount has been committed and or collected? It is our understanding that a fundraising committee has not been established. B, the New Hampshire AG's office has mandated that portion of the land illegally encroached upon or to be further encroached upon must first be appraised to ascertain its market value. Then the city must pay for it. Even so, the Division of Charitable Trusts said that after the current land encroachments had been paid for, they have not and would not approve of the existing parking lot for the public library. To change the express purpose of that land, the city must successfully complete the seizure of that land through eminent domain. Eminent domain is a lengthy and costly process with uncertain results. Therefore, question 1, what is the current value of the land in question? 2, what is the estimated cost of legal and ancillary preparation to acquire the land in question? 3, although former City Attorney Peter Laughlin and present City Attorney Bob Sullivan advised the city as to the legal process in acquiring trust property, it was ignored. Why did the city expose the taxpayers to this apparent liability and create further hardships to the taxpayers of Portsmouth? 4, we feel these concerns must be addressed prior to the demolition of the Portsmouth Armory. We look forward to receiving your prompt and complete response at your earliest convenience. Sincerely, John Russo, Acting President, Association of Portsmouth Taxpayers.
I'll open this up for questions. Do I have anybody, Carol?
Yes, Your Honor. Either you, Madam Mayor, or the city manager, will they have any problem in answering these questions?
I would say no,
Right.
definitely.
The last sentence did state that they would really appreciate a prompt answer, and they do have a meeting within the next 3 weeks.
They will get it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Councilor Pandelmarkis?
Yes, it was to my understanding, anyone that attended the library meeting that said what was encroached on and what wasn't encroached on was told that the library would not encroach on any land, that it was the junior high that was built that encroaches on the land. So I don't understand why we are asked at why that was ignored. We weren't even here as a council. How do we answer that? And if these people are so...
I think Councilor Whitehouse, when you were on the school board back then, when the addition went on, did you have the land surveyed at that time?
No, we didn't. We took directions from legal, who spent 4 months investigating it. There was 9 members on the JBC, 3 from the city council, and 3 from the public, and 3 from the school board. I was one of them back in 1975 or 76, and we took directions from legal, and this is where the boundaries was told by us. And the architect came to the very edge of the boundary. I agree. 30 years later, we find out that we encroached 12 to 14 feet over the boundary. But here we are. We're going through a time when, that in 1976 and 77, there was a large enrollment crunch. There was double sessions for the junior high. 300 children were at the old Whipple School, which was abandoned. We had to open it up, and another 900 at the junior high. So we was in dying straits to find housing and space for these children. And if you never walk the walk or talk the talk, you shouldn't be criticizing us for what we did in those days.
Councilor Grasso?
Yes, thank you. I would like to say that I think the mayor will answer these questions promptly and fully, and I don't think tonight's the night to discuss or argue about them, but I do think some of the suppositions that are listed here are incorrect to start with, and I think that will be explained in her answer.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Suzanne Dewhurst and Mark Nichols, United Way of the Greater Seacoast, requesting permission to install signs at the entrance to the city.
Move to the planning board for report back.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Barbara Daly requesting that sidewalks be installed along Middle Road between Sheffield Road and Plains Avenue. And I'm going to ask somebody to read her letter. If you remember, she was here before the public hearing, and I think the letter should be read.
I'll be happy to read it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Farini.
Honorable Mayor Sorrell and members of Portsmouth City Council, after attending the capital improvement hearing on Monday, March 29, 2004, and presenting my concerns regarding the lack of sidewalks on Middle Road, I decided to follow up with a letter. restating my concerns and questions. I am referring to the area between Sheffield Road and Plains Avenue. As I expressed, Middle Road is very busy, particularly at commuter time, both morning and afternoon, with vehicles coming to and from Route 95 to workplaces in Portsmouth and Pease. Those persons who walk, jog, or bike have to do so on the side, which is not suitable as it is very narrow and slopes away from the road in some places. After a hard rainstorm, puddles exist, making it difficult to walk on the side, and during the winter, the snow is not plowed beyond the macadam. With the warm weather coming soon, there will be more and more persons wishing to walk and jog, as well as more traffic on the road. I understand that the master plan is in place for a reason, but I consider waiting another 5 years for any improvement on Middle Road ludicrous. This is a safety issue, plain and simple. I suggested on Monday evening that if a temporary fix could be afforded, with a 3 to 4 foot extension of blacktop beyond the road area and white lines painted between the vehicle lanes and the pedestrian traffic, the permanent improvements could indeed wait until 2009 as planned. Can any funds be reallocated at this time to address this issue? Is there another option to be considered that would take care of this problem? I am deeply concerned that there will be an accident and then it will be too late. I would appreciate any positive action that the Council and Planning Board could initiate at this time. Thank you. Sincerely, Barbara Daly.
Councilor Farini, would you like to make the motion?
Move it to the Planning Board for further consideration.
Very good. Do I get a second?
City manager. Well, if this is for inclusion within the, or consideration within the ordering of what might occur within the master plan,
Actually, I think
capital improvement plan rather, then it should be moved to you, to the city manager.
The issue, again, is that one that we'll have to take a look at to see and determine what the cost would be to put these improvements. What we need to do is determine how much it would cost to add the shoulder that she's suggesting, and secondly, it would be also to look at the curbing and the actual concrete sidewalk. So we have to look at the two options to come up with some recommendation. My thought will be is that we can get this back to the City Council. I suspect it will be substantial in cost, so the earliest I would see us doing something would be next fiscal year when we look at the capital plan again and move it up from the 2009 to 2006, which would be able to get this thing started right about July of 2005, that we could be able to get it going. Because I believe if we're going to do it, we should do it the right way. I would say that if we're going to put in the sidewalks, we should put in the sidewalks. We shouldn't, extend 4 feet over to create a larger shoulder on a very high-traveled, high-speed roadway. I would probably wait the extra, 12 months and the City Council, and I'll have that information back to you and tell you how much it will cost. But I'd rather put that right in the capital plan and actually do it the right way.
Thank you, John. Do I have a second on that?
What's the motion?
I need a
Consider it moved to
second.
the city manager with power to explore as he has described.
Very good. Second. All right. Discussion?
Your Honor, so everybody's clear, what I'll do is I'll put together a cost estimate on both. I'll get it back to you in a correspondence to you, but it will be my intent to include this next year in the capital plan, and you'll see how that will affect our appropriations for fiscal year 06, not this capital plan, starting July 1, 2004, but the earliest I would propose would be July 1, 2005, which would be a year from now.
That sounds a lot better, John. Any other discussion, Councilor Grasso?
Your Honor, I was wondering, John, if it would be possible to reprioritize and exchange this section for something else that could be pushed back a year or so?
Well, council can do whatever it wants, but we're probably talking a couple $100,000 here. So we would have to spend some time reprogramming. That's why I'm thinking that we could do it in the context of the entire process that we have with capital planning. This is not a $5,000, $10,000 item, and the estimate will probably be to do the sidewalks and the curbing, probably about $200,000. So I think it would be prudent for the city council to at least put it into the process, because we could pull out multiple projects like this. So I would rather see it go into the process. I will move it up for the fiscal year '06, and then debate can take place within the planning board, within the city council when it has its work session, and at the public hearing, so that next year, if people feel strongly about this and the council wants to appropriate the money, then it will be appropriated for July 1, 2005. We're talking about 12 months. That would be my suggestion.
Assistant Mayor Hanson?
Just as a reminder, whenever you increase the width of the pavement, you increase speed. And as a traffic calming mechanism is you close down the width of the street and you put in the sidewalks. As you know, we did that on Broad Street and had a remarkable difference in speed on Broad Street. You could land a 747 on there before we did that. And we're attempting to do the same thing, or have the state do the same thing on Ocean Road, to get that traffic calming to reduce the speed. So that's a real consideration that you've got to look at, is one way widening that, putting a white stripe, just makes that very, very wide. We looked at that tonight. That is one option, but I think our traffic engineer is going to tell us it's also very dangerous. So.
Any other discussion? Ned?
I respect everything that John said earlier about the not wanting to perhaps spend money on just blacktop, that, rather than doing something on the cheap and then doing something expensive later to wait. And I understand what Alex is saying too. I do have to say though that subsequent to Ms. Daly bringing this up last meeting, I drive that stretch a lot, and I've noticed, and it is a really kind of an awful place, and people do travel that road pretty fast now anyway, and it strikes me that that's kind of a route to the Plains Little League field, and it would just be awful if something happened in the year between now and the time we put it in the capital plan. So I just might ask the city manager to consider the possibility of us doing something in the interim that would not be completely a waste for the subsequent, full job. Well, if Your Honor, if I might, what I'll have to do is come up with some numbers and give you the options, and then we'll have to reprogram some money in the capital plan. So whatever we reprogram, we're going to have to put off that item for a future time. So I'll give you the numbers, and you can make a decision.
Assistant Mayor?
The Assistant Mayor has the chair and recognizes the mayor.
We've been on this now for at least 10 years since I've been on this council. And I'm very upset because way back I used to talk about the blind man that used to walk up Middle Road to the little store. And the poor man, I don't know how he ever did it, but he did it. But today, when I was going home, I was really shook up because when I came over the bridge, there was a woman with a baby carriage stroller, and she was trying to get down through there to the bridge. I'm telling you, those cars went in so close to her that it really bothered me. I think 2005 is good, John. It's a lot different than 2009, but maybe we could get on to it a little bit sooner.
If I might, Assistant Mayor, if I might? Yes. The City Council has the option tonight to add $200,000 to the capital plan, which would then adjust my budget that I'll be submitting to you from $1 million to $1.2 million. That is an option, but again, that is something that will affect, the tax rate. So I think it's important to understand that we get a lot of these requests in, and I don't disagree with you, Your Honor, that there is a need to do something there. I'm just saying that to start cherry-picking the projects that large at the end of a process really would lead to a breakdown in the process in future years. The process has worked well for a number of years. We have moved projects up, but we've waited to to go through the process. So, for example, we will move a project from 2009 to 2006, and that's the appropriate way to do it, to vet it through the whole process, rather than having somebody come in at the end, and I don't disagree with you, but to come in at the end and be able to move $200,000 within the capital plan would be very difficult. So I think it's important to try to continue in the process. I hear what the City Council has to say, and certainly we'll move it up, and we can have a discussion on that as we go through the process for next year.
Thank you, City Manager. Any further discussion? Steve?
Thank you. I understand what John was just saying, and it is true that in the listening from when Ms. Daly was here last meeting, I guess, and then what people are saying this evening, I think it is a pretty high priority, and maybe that it's a high enough priority that you do indeed move it up quite a bit, like a few have suggested may be warranted. But I also think that what John has mentioned about if you do something, a fairly substantial project at the end of this process, it does make it difficult and sets a precedent, and I don't proclaim to know how often this precedent has been broken before, but if this would be a first in terms of the lateness of putting something this substantial in, that could have some serious ramifications for future capital budgeting processes. What I would say, at least one person's opinion, that would be a compromise between kind of blowing up the process so as to avoid that precedent setting, but at the same time acknowledging that this is a pretty darn high priority and that it's pretty darn unsafe. That perhaps an agreement that could be made, not this evening, but early on, that would say that we wouldn't be increasing the total number of dollars spent, that this simply would replace approximately, depending what the number is, $200,000. That might help avoid tipping over the apple cart. It would mean that there's something else that we would say this is a higher priority than, something that's currently on tap for the next 12 months. And it may well be that that's the case. If it is, that way we don't tip the apple cart over, but we also acknowledge that this is a pretty high priority. So I think that kind of gets across both John's legitimate concern about not starting from scratch here and also moving something up. I'm not deciding on whether or not this is a high enough priority to do that, but upon hearing this, it may well be, and that might be a way to avoid the problems.
To the Mayor, then Councilor Panalakis, and then back to Councilor Perrine. Madam Mayor?
Well, John knows I do not want to see any increase in the tax rate this year. So I will go along with the promise that we have this in 2005.
Councilor Panalakis.
John, would this have to go through a bid process?
Oh, of course.
So we really couldn't get to it till 2005,
Well,
right?
when I say that would be fiscal year 2006, which begins July 1, 2005. What I'm saying is next year during the process, when we're sitting here a year from today, it would be my hope to have that money programmed in to have it available July 1, 2005.
Councilor Perrine.
I would just go on to say that if that is indeed how we proceed, I think that's a timely response, given the magnitude of the numbers that would be affected should we try to move it up any further. And I think that's a reasonable and timely response, and I'd support that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll turn the gavel back over to the Mayor.
Thank you, Assistant Mayor. We have a letter here tonight from Greg Whalen, Seaboard Whalen Real Estate Management, Inc., requesting permission for license for the placement of a construction dumpster.
Move the City Manager with power.
Second.
Discussion, Councilor Whitehouse.
Yes, I see in the communication it talks dumpsters, plural. Any idea, John, how many dumpsters
There are two that he wants put out, and I'm trying to find the
two down there?
Yeah. I'm trying to find I have the letter. I'm trying to find, he sent us over a description, and quite frankly, I have misplaced it right now.
Be taking up any parking spaces, do you know?
What's there is pretty much traditionally what has been there. So, we will work with him to develop a license agreement so that if there are any encroachments, we will protect the city's interests.
All right, Joe.
Any other discussion? Yes, Councilor Perrine.
Would that license discussion deal with any mitigation of the side effects of the dumpsters, or are they already
That's something we can take a look at. So we can take a look at the site and the way it looks. If you recall, there have been dumpsters out there for a number of years. And the fact is that we have started looking at these very closely because more and more construction downtown has taken place, and there have been a couple of requests that have come to my office, and I've felt uncomfortable just authorizing them without bringing it to the City Council. So here again, we have another request that would put these construction dumpsters in the right-of-way. I think it's appropriate to get them licensed and to have the appropriate insurances in place and to have control in the event that encroachment is causing us problems. I want to have the right to be able to move that. Thank you.
Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now we are down to the city manager, and John has 3 items that require action.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first item I have is the request to adopt the capital plan for fiscal year 2005 through 2010. And as you recall, on March 22nd, the City Council conducted a work session regarding the proposed capital improvement plan for 2005 to 2010. In addition, in accordance with 7.7 of the City Charter, the City Council conducted a public hearing on this proposed plan on Monday, March 29th. At both of these meetings, a comprehensive presentation of the capital plan was made by the city staff. Also, copies of the plan were made available to the public as well as put on file with the city clerk's office and the public library. Further, the CIP is available on the city's website. As I've indicated in the past, subsequent to the public hearing, the council needs to adopt the plan prior to my delivering the proposed FY05 budget to you. I plan to try to deliver that budget to you on or about April 19th, and given that projected date, it would be necessary for the City Council to adopt the plan tonight. If you do not adopt the plan tonight, I would have to delay delivering my budget to you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Moved to adopt the 2005 through 2010 capital improvement plan as presented at public hearing on March 29th, 2004.
Do I get a second? Very good. This is open now for discussion. Yes, Councilor Whitehouse.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to offer an amendment. And before I offer the amendment, I'd like to just talk about what we discussed at a work session, and that was possibly allocating more monies for the Pierce Island project, Phase 3, which would be increasing the Fort Tree Island parking lot. It would almost double in size. We have, if you notice in your report on page 49, allocated $25,000 in the capital improvement plan for the upcoming year 2004 or 2005. And in the budget that was presented to us by the master plan, they estimated that just the parking lot alone to increase the number of spaces there would be 195,000. So in my amendment, I'm suggesting that we take $50,000 from the stump dump allocation and move it to the Pierce Island master plan project, which would be earmarked for added parking for the Fort Tree Island parking lot. Now, if I get a second on that amendment, I will speak further.
Do I have a second on the amendment? Sorry about that.
Thank you very much.
Harold, you lost again.
Appreciate that. That's all right.
All right.
Mayor, if I can speak to the motion.
You certainly may.
I'm going to support this motion, and I considered the discussion that we had about the visitor center and the old State House, and if we are able to receive grants, a lot of times there's a match, and it takes time for this to happen. So the federal budget's already been through its process. By the time that the design, the plan, and all that comes together, we'll be in the next budget. But I think that if we then turn around and allocate the funds that are needed to expand that parking that we had discussed, that would be part of the match. And it would make more fiscal sense to hold off and use that money as part of the match now, in the coming budget, if we get that grant in the next fiscal year.
That was your motion?
Already made the motion.
All right, you were, and I've got the second.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion? No, being no other discussion, you all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a report back regarding the resident parking concerns for the Bow Street Fair. As you recall, this item was tabled on January 26th. A meeting pending a report back with a recommendation regarding parking for residents at Bow Street that would be affected by the closure of the street. The Seacoast Repertory Theater has secured 15 parking spots for Bow Street residents in close proximity to Bow Street. I've attached the letters from Stacy Baker Chaliki and from the Seacoast Repertory Promotions Director, and she's here tonight to answer any questions you might have in the event you do have them. I don't think at this particular time. I think it's self-explanatory, but she's very interested in getting the council to remove this from the table and taking action on it, since she has to get together and get most of her promotional materials out. But she's done what the city council's asked. I did have a telephone conversation with Mr. Hale, and he seemed to be satisfied with our ability to get a spot for him and also for the other residents. And I would hope that we would be able to give them placards so that they would have assigned spaces.
Move to remove this item from the table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed?
Your Honor, then I move the approval of the Bow Street Fair for July 17th and July 18th.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed?
Let's see. The next item, Your Honor, is a proposed acceptance of easements for licenses at 72 Marona Road from Madison Commercial Group and easements. And what I'd like to do is turn this over to the city attorney to discuss.
The first thing I'd say is that Attorney Murphy is here on behalf of Madison if there are any specific questions. There may be none. This is a fairly routine request. In accordance with planning board approvals, the recommendation is to the city council that the city give Madison the grant of a license to allow them to use certain parking and landscape improvement areas that frankly are already being used at Artisan Outlet. The Artisan Outlet area is just something that developed historically where part of their parking lot is in fact in the city right away. And request the council authorize the city manager to negotiate a license agreement to allow that to continue. And the second is, as you've done many, many times before, you're being requested to authorize the manager to accept an easement deed to certain drainage area, and they are shown, the drainage area is shown in the exhibit which is attached to you, and it's attached in the agenda packet tonight, and it's that gray area that's right at the lower part of the Artisan Outlet lot. Is there any further questions?
How about a motion?
Move to authorize the city manager to accept a drainage easement at 72 Marona Road to benefit the city from Madison Commercial Group, LLC. And number two, authorize the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Madison Commercial Group to permit an existing limited intrusion into Marona Road right-of-way for parking and related purposes at 72 Marona Road.
Second.
Discussion. Councilor Gress.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd just like to ask the city attorney, exactly what does it mean if we accept this drainage easement?
It's actually to allow the city to drain the street area into existing drainage structure and pond.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor. The next items are informational items, and one that I did provide the city council was an interim EDC, EDC report on parking on the parking impact fee recommendation. And there is also the quarterly report from the chamber on our partnership and a press release on Community Development Week. I would be available to answer any questions relative to any of these items if you have any.
Any questions of the city manager? Yes, Councilor Whitehouse.
Yes, Your Honor. John, it's not on informational items, but I think it's important to let the public know what happened at the last PDA meeting in reference to Gino Marconi's report and what will be coming at the next meeting, and how the council will be aware of what's his report.
Your Honor, is that appropriate?
Yes, it is. It isn't on the agenda, but go right ahead.
Thank you. What happened at the PDA meeting is that there was a long discussion relative to the issues of the scrap at the port, Rensselaer Iron and Steel, Grinnell Industries. Many of the issues that were discussed dealt with the mayor's letter and what she sent to the PDA regarding some of the issues as relates to the dust migrating to other properties, the issue of water runoff, and those types of things. The PDA is asked the Port Director, Gino Marconi, to work on a report back to the board addressing all those issues, and I asked that that report also be sent to the City Council. Gino Marconi, in fact, today came in and also indicated to me he, as recently as today, has talked to DES and others. He's gathering the information to provide back to the PDA board, as well as, so that information would then come back to the City Council. So there is a motion in place to get that information back to the board for transmittal to the public in general as well.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Rob Candelot.
Madam Mayor, while we're on that subject, could I ask the city manager if he could send our code enforcement officer to the pier to get a picture of the containment basin that the director said in the paper that was put in 1994, he thought? Because as I went through my paperwork, because I was on the study committee of the port, I could not find anything that said there had been one put in.
Yes, John.
Your Honor, if I might, the McGuire Group has designed, and I believe there's an installation of that, but I'll check that.
Would you please? Thank you.
Any other questions of John?
It is my understanding that the city manager is going to get that information for the council and Councilor Pantelakis. We're not attempting to send the code enforcement officer on the state property.
What I'll do is I'll call Gino, and I think there's one installed already, Counselor. And I'll check that. I'm almost positive. Yeah, the McGuire Group did the design, and that's one of the things I've asked at the meeting, that they have the McGuire Group actually do some of. I think one of the problems that we have at the port is I think there has to be the information has to be compiled in such a way as it can be in one document that can be provided to the PDA board, and that's what I asked for, to be compiled in one document, so that we're not rehashing, some of the things that we're discussing, so that this report will come back and it'll tell about the air quality, it'll talk about the containment area, it'll talk about the issue relative to the use of water to keep down the dust. So that's what I've suggested. It would be appropriate for that to go to the board first, and then subsequently come to the City Council.
Great.
But I'll get your answer.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions of John? Thank you very much, John. Good report. We're down to the Mayor Sorrell, and would you guess that I do not have anything under my name tonight? So we can get right out of here if Alec doesn't take over too long. We'll pass it to Alec on Traffic and Safety Committee action sheets and minutes of March 18th,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
2004.
Move to accept the Traffic and Safety Committee action sheet and minutes of March 18th, 2004.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to Councilor Hines, and Councilor is going to report back regarding Martin Luther King Recognition Blue Ribbon Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Martin Luther King Recognition Blue Ribbon Committee represented by Algene Bailey, the Reverend Arthur Hilson, Margaret Britton, Deacon Nate Holloway, Representative James Splain, and Ray Will of the Planning Board member. The committee met 3 times considering several sites in Portsmouth and reached unanimous agreement to recommend the site located between Dutton Avenue and Scott Avenue, bound by Wright Avenue, which to most of the locals would be between the Connie Bean Center and the Memorial Bridge. If it pleased the council, the committee would like to remain active to assist with the design of the memorial site if the council at this time accepts the Blue Ribbon Committee report, and I expect we will send it to the planning board for a report back.
Is that a motion, John?
That's a motion. I ask for a second.
Okay, very good. Discussion. John, I really want to thank you. You did a great job. You really did. And we all appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron. It was good working with that committee. Very reasonable, always trying to save money and to get the job done. And in this case, we're able to select a site that changed no addresses, costs no impact on any of the residential areas or commercial for that matter. And I think it was an excellent choice. And after several brainstorming sessions, they came up with this.
Thank you, John. Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, may I ask the chairman of the committee a question, please?
Yes. John?
John, will this be an in-ground plaque, or will it be a small monument, or will it be something that will be seen as you come across the bridge?
That is an open question, Harold. At this time, we are merely asking the council to accept this recommendation, refer it to the planning board to see whether or not that's a suitable site of public land, and then come back to the council. And at that point, the design will begin if the council agrees. And the design will be open to the public as well as the council and to any interested parties.
Harold?
Yeah, before we leave this subject, I'd just like to say to my fellow councilors and the public, we have over the years, and I'm going to support the motion, but we have over the years many times recognized Martin Luther King. 15 years I've been attending the Coalition Chamber, the Coalition Breakfast, the third Monday in January, where a resolution has been presented each time. I don't think I've missed any in the last 15 years at Yokins. We've also taken an oil painting that was presented to us by Nate, I think about 4 to 5 years ago. We found an ideal place to hang this beautiful, beautiful oil painting of Martin Luther King right in the second floor as you come off the elevator in City Hall. We've also allowed the cultural educational committee that was looking for space to hold some meetings and some seminars, and we allowed them 2 rooms at the Connie Bean Center, and we have done tremendously in recognizing the Afro-American and the Martin Luther King accomplishments. So, over the years, I think we've done our part, and here's another avenue that we're accomplishing, and I think it's wonderful.
Councilor Hines?
Thank you, Your Honor. This, I believe, is the most cosmopolitan city in the state of New Hampshire, perhaps in the Northeast. Any city never puts a limit on honoring people who have given their life, as well as having spent a good part of their life bringing freedom to its people and to all the people in this country. I don't believe that we should consider limiting any amount of honor to whomever rises to the level that requires that we recognize what they have done, and this city, perhaps leading all of the rest of the state, has always been foremost in finding that recognition belongs here in the city of the open door.
Thank you very much. Counselor, would you like to make the motion as to the last sentence about the committee remaining active?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Oh, we still got the motion on. Did you say anything in your motion about the last sentence?
No, he just.
Yeah, what I suggested in the request of the council committee was that if the council refers this to the planning board and they report back and we accept that site as a potential site for honoring Martin Luther King Jr., that we then began considering the design of the site. And at that point, the committee would like to remain together to assist in the design of the site. And they also have asked that we get a broad public input through the media, through the high schools, through the council, the planning board, and the public in general. They would like very much to have a real study made, and time is not of any consequence in carrying this on until they have found that there is total public approval for a proper design that will be put there.
Thank you, Councilor Hines. The mayor has the authority of this committee to stay active. Can I get a second?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Cress.
I'd like to suggest that through Mr. Hines as the liaison that your committee work with the arts agency, the city's cultural commission, when you get to the point where you're looking at designs and thoughts on how to express this.
We'd be very pleased to have the arts committee join us.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are down to, is there any miscellaneous items?
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to go back to the public comment session where Rich Patino brought some notes to you concerning the Schiller Station. And I was just wondering if this is something, we do have a health enforcement officer, and I didn't know if it's something that we should turn over to him to look at that situation, or maybe give him that letter to investigate. I don't know if that needs a motion or.
No, administratively, I had it written down to do something tomorrow with it.
Wonderful, thank you.
Good. Okay. Any other miscellaneous?
Move to adjourn.
Very good. We will see you all May 3rd. The next
Vote on
meeting.
adjourning?
We don't have any.
Vote on adjourning?
What?
So you got to vote on adjourning?
Yes, I am, Harold. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Boy, the mayor's taking it tonight.